This is the Financial Beat, helping you hit all the right notes in your financial plan. So sit back as we strike up the band. The Financial Beat with Logan Sadler starts now.
Welcome to another exciting edition of the Financial Beat with Logan Sadler, Vice President, Chief Investment Officer at Regari Financial, serving you in Southern California, wherever you happen to be. Logan has two convenient offices, Hemet and Redlands, and let me give you a very important phone number if you'd like to get in touch with Logan and talk about getting to and through retirement. The number is 888-823-PLAN. That is 888-823-PLAN. Logan, how are things with you this week? I know you've been really busy.
Yeah, I've been super busy meeting with lots of good radio listeners, as well as, a lot of different clients and things like that. It's one of those times a year where coming towards the end of the year here, things just seem to get busy, and then we all get to relax and enjoy our vacations coming up, right?
Yeah, everything kind of accelerates at this time of the year, and then there's Thanksgiving, and then things begin to slow down just a little bit. But I want to talk to you about Thanksgiving because it's my favorite holiday. How about you?
Nice. Yeah, what's funny is Christmas and Thanksgiving are my two favorites, and a lot of it has to do, to be honest, with obviously family and all that, but also the food.
Exactly, man. I know what you mean. Hey, one more time on that phone number, it's 888-823-PLAN. Call that number today, get a conversation, a discovery meeting with Logan Sadler. Won't cost you anything and won't obligate you to do anything at all beyond that. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. Logan, I was reading earlier this week, 9 years ago, back in 2013, a dad in China hired gamers to kill his son in video games. Not to kill him literally, but to kill him in video games, so that the son would get a life and start looking for a job. I guess he wanted to get him out of his basement or whatever and get on with it.
That is funny. I think it was, I don't know if it was last week or a few weeks ago, but you brought up a statistic about, screen time and people on their phones. And I think there's a whole generation out there, especially of the younger generation. And, they're not so young anymore. A lot of them are getting older, but they're very big into the gaming. It becomes kind of like you said, it's like their life essentially. And then it's kind of a bummer that dad had to go to that extreme to hire somebody to get rid of him on there. But, yeah, it's something where I definitely have seen that, where people are just so involved in either social media stuff or video games. It's a real thing.
Have you ever been much of a video game player?
It's funny. Growing up, we had kind of like limited access. We had game consoles and stuff like that, like a PlayStation or a Nintendo or Sega or any of those ones that were out back then, and I played it, but me and my brother would play like maybe a half hour a night, or maybe on a long time, maybe an hour. We played a lot of the sports games,
Sure.
There wasn't a lot more out at that time, and it's really about all I played. And if we were lucky, if we played a half hour or an hour, maybe at the most on a certain occasion, but not every day.
I can remember playing some of those sports-related games with my son, and he would always kill me.
Yeah, they're fun. Yeah. But yeah, I never got too extreme with it. I had some friends that play 6 hours a day or 5 hours a day. Right. If I was playing basketball or football for 20 minutes on there, then I'm like, I'd rather just go out and play it. So it was one of those things.
If you're involved in sports, when you're growing up, you don't have time for all that. So
No.
And I know you were. Hey, let's talk about Thanksgiving and the first Thanksgiving, in fact. And there may be some lessons we can learn here about financial planning from the first Thanksgiving. If you study the first Thanksgiving that took place in 1621, you're going to find that many of our traditions today aren't really a great recreation of the original event. So, Logan, let's see what we can learn about financial planning from some of the discrepancies. First of all, at that first Thanksgiving, I don't know if you've thought about this, but there was actually no turkey. And we consider turkey to be an essential part of Thanksgiving. Yeah. It's almost certain that the first Thanksgiving didn't include turkey at all. They might have had other meat, such as fish or venison or oysters, maybe ham. When it comes to financial planning, is there anything that people seem to think is a requirement that isn't actually necessary, or maybe something that people assume that a financial advisor is going to tell them, when in reality, you tell that to very few people?
Yeah, that's a great question you brought up there in regards to financial planning. But back to the turkey, that's quite surprising. When I think of Thanksgiving, I think of turkey, so that is interesting.
Yeah,
but
me too.
But to your question, that does come up quite a bit. I actually had a client she became a client, but was referred over by an existing client of ours, and she had just been concerned with a lot of the stuff going on in the market, and really wasn't at a stage of life where she was super comfortable with it. She was 58 years old and had an older IRA that she had, and it was around $200,000 or so, and it was all in mutual funds and things of that sort. And anyway, she had been referred over by a friend, so we literally sit down for our very, very first conversation, and she said, I know what you're going to tell me. And I said, oh, okay. I love when people do that because now I'm excited. What am I going to tell you? She said, I know what you're going to tell me. I've met with lots of financial advisors throughout the years, and you're going to tell me, leave it all alone. You'll be fine. Put everything you have in the market, right? And I said, well, not necessarily. I mean, I just met you. I have no idea what your goals are, what your concerns are, what is your time frame, what is your kind of experience with the market? Has it been positive or has it been negative? And I told her, what about insurance products? What if we have you ever heard of an annuity before, or a fixed index annuity for income? Have you ever looked at CDs or money markets? Or, I kind of started talking about all of those different variables out there in the investment world, and told her, we focus a lot more on the financial planning side. Mm-hmm. And it was just so funny because she kind of just smiled and said, okay, go on, keep talking, right? So she was at one of those stages where she had been to a few different people and has been told several times over again, maybe similar things. And I experienced that a lot with people. We try to do things a lot different here at our firm, to where we're really trying to listen to the client, understand what they're trying to accomplish. And again, we have licenses where we could utilize a lot of different types of products or services or planning vehicles to get where we got to go. So it's definitely not, when you come in here, it's not everything. You're not going to hear typically what you've heard from other people in most cases.
When November rolls around every year, I start getting excited about Thanksgiving because it's my favorite holiday because of the food and family. And, you don't have to go out and buy presents. You don't have to worry about that.
It's more relaxed.
Yeah, and it's all about, spending time with the people you love and all of that. And maybe watch a little football too. But
oh, yeah.
The first Thanksgiving didn't take place in late November even. It would have probably been at least a couple of months earlier, around harvest time. What do you see people doing in their financial lives where maybe they have a good idea, but their timing may be off?
Yeah, that's a great question there. I think there's a lot of people out there that are very smart, or maybe do it themselves, or have an advisor that they work with, and a lot of them maybe have done well, but a lot of the times their timing or their strategies might not be as as optimized as they might need or as might have wanted to. Now, there's a few things that come to mind. We talk a lot on the show about tax strategies and Roth conversions or gifting to charity. A lot of those different strategies you could utilize. I've seen a lot of clients maybe not utilize those at the right time. There's times like right now where the market is down. It might be, depending on your situation, it might be a really good time to take advantage of Roth conversions at a lower market versus a higher market, right? Because the amount you're converting is less, and as it grows back up, it might grow up into that tax-free vehicle versus tax-deferred, right? So that's one thing where I think timing can be very important. The other thing is adjusting risk. I've had some clients, don't ask me why, we've all heard these sayings out there, buy low, sell high type sayings, but lots of people out there tend to do the opposite. And what I mean by that is adjusting risk. I've had a lot of clients where, again, we work with primarily people that are approaching retirement or really focusing more on retirement planning. And a lot of the times risk becomes part of the topic, and they say, I'm not going to move any risk right now. Market's going good. As soon as the market bottoms or hits any type of volatility, then they go, okay, now I'll start rebalancing risk or moving things around, right? It's kind of at the opposite time of when you should be doing those. So I've seen that from time to time. Again, both can be good strategies and useful for planning, but some timing does go into those to try to do that at the best time you can.
Yeah. We're talking about the first Thanksgiving and how we might be able to learn some things about financial planning from what happened to that very first Thanksgiving. Originally, I don't think many people have thought about this, but originally it was kind of a one-off situation. And in November of 1789, George Washington issued a proclamation calling for a day of public thanksgiving and prayer. Well, that was the only Thanksgiving day until the 1860s. many years ago, like over 70 years later, when Abe Lincoln became convinced that an annual celebration would be a good way to unite the country during the Civil War. And in 1870, Congress made it official by passing legislation that made Thanksgiving a national holiday.
Wow.
Logan, how do you see people in good ways or bad ways turning one-time financial moves into ongoing habits?
Yeah, there's plenty of good moves I've seen people do, like saving money or just thinking a little bit more purposeful about what their goals are and all that for their plan, thinking more long term. But there's also some good or some bad habits I've seen where sometimes people might not have enough education or enough time put in on that subject to understand some of their investments that they might be in. The other thing is I feel a lot of people don't take the time when it comes to their financial plan. We always talk about this on the show run, right, where people spend more time sometimes planning a vacation than they might their retirement plan.
Yeah.
And that's totally true. So I think a lot of people don't take the time to work with an advisor or themselves or whoever's doing it to understand what their situation looks like. What are they trying to accomplish? What are their goals? What are their concerns? And understanding that as far as not just trying to chase returns or getting caught up in this or that financial decision or the hot stock of the week or any of that type of stuff, and focusing more on those sound habits of understanding what what investments you have, what your goals are with those, and what the purpose of those investments in your plan, as well as understanding all the other strategies we talk about like taxes and estate planning, all that stuff. But just focusing more on those good financial habits that come with financial planning.
You're listening to the Financial Beat. We're talking about Thanksgiving here with Logan Sadler, Regari Financial. And Logan, that very first Thanksgiving is often portrayed as a result of a peace agreement between Pilgrims and Native Americans. That was at least partially true temporarily, I guess. But believe it or not, the Native Americans weren't just signing up to joyfully hand over the continental United States to the white man. And I don't know about you, but I still feel bad about the way all that happened. I mean, it's portrayed in history as, not a bad thing, but my goodness, I look back on what the white man did to the Native Americans is just terrible. It only took a few years before those two sides were constantly engaged in devastating, bloody wars. When it comes to financial matters, you ever see people getting too comfortable during good times and not adequately prepared for the battle that they may face in tougher times?
Yeah, that's a really great point you brought up there, and I would see that. I would say, at our firm, we have the pleasure of serving a lot of clients here and been around for a long time, as well as we're constantly meeting with new clients and new families to bring on board to our firm. So, over the many years, we've seen so many different types of people out there with different situations, different planning techniques, different goals, different concerns, all of that, right? And I think a lot of the times people sometimes get it in their head where, hey, times are good. If it ain't broke, don't fix it type thing, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of our clients are approaching retirement or maybe just started retirement. So, they're 50 years old or 55 or 65 or whatever age they kind of fall into. But a lot of the times we see people not understanding that the best time to prepare for a storm is not during the storm, right? That's never a time to board up the windows and get things ready. You want to do that, weeks before the storm comes or months before the storm comes, depending on what type of storm it is and how much time you have to work with. But you really want to make sure you're getting things prepared ahead of time. And that's why we have a lot of clients where in those early years of retirement or maybe right before retirement, they'll say, you know what, whatever I've been doing this so long has worked, right? And market's been really good. I've been putting into my 401k or my IRA or wherever you're putting your money away. And there's no really need to change it. I know I'm getting close, but hey, if the market kept doing good for the next 2 years, I'd be in a good spot, or the next year, or whatever, however long that time frame is. And unfortunately, something big happens, right? A big world event, market volatility, a market correction, a recession, or whatever else might come up. And then all of a sudden you realize that you might have been taking a lot more risk than you may have wanted or that you may have needed to really achieve your financial goals of retirement. And I always tell people a lot of the times what got you to retirement does not necessarily get you through retirement. So it's a very important time to really focus in and really get ready for that next phase of life. Again, doesn't mean changing everything you've ever known, but it might mean making a few small tweaks to make sure that your portfolio and your financial plan are fit for whatever phase of life you're in. Again, if it's approaching retirement, to make sure we have the right amount of risk, we know what the pros or cons are, and we're situated for whatever type of weather or type of market volatility comes our way. And that is what our firm spends a lot of time with our clients focusing on, is how to build that customized financial plan that is suited for each and every one of our clients. Because again, every plan we build is different. They all might have different investments in them, might have different tax strategies in them, depending on each client. So we really focus a lot more on taking that comprehensive approach to making sure that our clients that are coming on board with us, that are maybe making the call from the radio and coming in from that discovery meeting, that to make sure they have the full comprehensive plan and understand what the pros are, what the risk is of their portfolio, as well as what is this next phase of life going to look like, and have that next 15 or 20 years mapped out in a financial plan. So that's what we offer.
Here's a very special phone number for you, 888-823-PLAN. That is 888-823-7526. But the easy way to remember that last part is by using the word plan, because that is so essential when it comes to getting to and through retirement. 888-823-PLAN. Logan Sadler would love to talk to you, get to know you in a discovery meeting. And you can get a discovery meeting either on the phone or maybe via Zoom, or maybe you might want to come into one of the offices, Hemet or Redlands. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call to make that happen. Simply call that number today and leave a message with your name and phone number, and you will get a call back. And then you can have that discovery meeting. It's not going to cost you a penny, not going to obligate you to do anything. And all you got to do is reach out. Logan Sadler, same guy you hear on the radio show here, will be the one who talks to you. And he's been working with 3 different generations of the client families at Regary, and many of those clients have been with this firm for more than a quarter of a century. 888-823-PLAN, your number to call. Ron Stutz here along with Logan Sadler, and there's more coming up in just a moment. You're listening to The Financial Beat.
At the end of the day, no one truly understands your financial wants and desires better than you. That's why it's important to have financial independence. This means you can work when you want, you know exactly where your income is coming from, and most importantly, your finances are stable. If this sounds like something you want, well, text the word advice to the number 21000. And Logan Sadler and his team at Regary Financial can provide you with their free guide on achieving financial independence. The free guide will show you how to create an action plan for getting to where you want to be. It'll explain how to calculate a financial independence goal. And it'll define what an ICE egg is and why it's so important. Download it now by texting the word advice to the number 21000. Again, text the word advice to the number 21000 to gain your financial independence today.
Do you ever find yourself skipping through countless songs trying to find the perfect one? Yeah, we've been there too, and know it can be frustrating. Much like skipping through the countless advertisements from other financial advisors, it can seem like there's so much misinformation. But here on the Financial Beat, you can rest assured we're providing you with the best information possible. So don't push skip on this show, because we have some important information coming up.
We're back now with more of the Financial Beat. Logan Sadler is on the radio. Go tell everybody you know. Logan Sadler at Regary Financial. He's the VP, Chief Investment Officer. Offices in Hemet and Redlands. And if you'd like to have a talk with Logan Sadler, it's very easy. All you got to do is call 888-823-PLAN, 888-823-PLAN, and leave a message today with your name and phone number. You'll get a call back. At Regary Financial, they have terrific partnerships with local CPAs, attorneys, real estate agents, mortgage lenders, Medicare specialists, everybody, in other words, having to do with your financial life, so they can help offer you well-rounded guidance in all things financial. If you become a client, you can get a discovery meeting at no cost and no obligation. 888-823-PLAN. Not only is Logan on this radio show every week, but also you can find him on podcasts, and Logan even has his own YouTube channel. Logan, for folks who don't know, tell us about that.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because there was even a radio listener I met with the other day who had been listening to the show for, almost a year now, and he had not found out about our YouTube channel. So those of you that like the format of the show, you could actually head over to a podcast and download this at wherever it is you download podcasts. Might be Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, and you could type in The Financial Beat with Logan Sadler. And again, over 75 episodes of our radio show and podcast will be uploaded on there for you to listen to. For those of you that like more of the visual format, we actually have our YouTube channel you can head over to that's called, again, The Financial Beat. And on there, we upload weekly content that's a lot more shorter on specific topics like, what is financial independence, 401ks versus Roth 401ks, right? Is a Roth conversion good? All of those types of topics are over there for you. And again, uploaded weekly with content on our YouTube channel and our podcast. So go ahead and check those out and click subscribe and follow along there for some good information.
Logan is a really good communicator, if I may say so, and that is another way to get information out there. And a lot of what you do, Logan, is about educating folks. And, I'm really proud that you do it in all those different ways.
Well, thank you, Ron. We really do enjoy it, and like you said, at the end of the day, we feel that we'd like to lead with the education and the value.
Absolutely, and there's a lot to learn about the financial world. That's for sure,
and it's always changing.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to keep up with. Almost everybody likes the idea of having a healthy bank account. What are some of the most common needs for cash that you see that make it a good idea to have a sufficient amount on hand?
Yeah, it definitely is one of those things where a lot of people like having cash in the bank account, right? Cash is king is that old saying, like you said. But there is some good ideas to keep more cash on hand depending on your situation, but a lot of the times might be to fund that emergency fund, right? There's a lot of people out there where you should have some really good amounts of money put away depending on your situation for an emergency fund. A lot of the times we have people saying, hey, you know what, Logan, in 6 months, I'm going to buy a vacation home or I'm going to buy another house, right, for a rental property or whatever that reason is. That might be a good reason to keep that money in cash, not invest it or tie it up or risk it. The other one is, right, you might be moving or going through a huge change here coming up and you might need access to some short-term cash. There's a lot of those types of things, as well as being a business owner or having real estate where you might have things go wrong like a new roof, right? So there's a lot of different reasons that we'll recommend, hey, you know what, you might want to keep more on hand than the typical person does, because again, it's nice to have some cash available if we're one of those people where we might need that type of access to cash coming up.
Yeah, and got to have something for an emergency fund as well, like you said. If you all of a sudden need to put on a new roof, and need to be able to get to it quickly. So, for a client who's gotten used to having a large amount in the bank, what's a way that they can invest more efficiently without suddenly giving themselves a heart attack because they're watching their money go up and down every day in the market?
Yeah, that's a great point. And like we always say here, our firm's just a big believer in having a financial plan that is built to fit you, right? And I feel like in that financial plan, it needs to cover what is your investment risk, what your liquidity needs, right? If you need access to cash, how much liquid cash do you have? We got to look at things like tax efficiency. Your portfolio needs to look for potentially future income, right? If we need more income down the road, where would it come from and what places will we pull from first? And all of that should be determining how you're investing, right? As well, like I said, your investment risk, liquidity needs, tax efficiency, all of that. And again, the outcome might be so different for everybody because that will determine if you want to be more lower risk or high risk, or if we should be using this to build up for income in the future or not, right? And when it comes to more conservative investments, like you were asking, some of our clients are in that boat right now where they say, hey, Logan, I have enough market money. Maybe I have some fixed index annuities that are providing income. I got my Social Security. I'm good on income. I feel like I have enough in the market, but what else should I be doing? There's a lot of different strategies that we like to utilize, like different types of treasuries. The yield right now on safe money, I've been telling people, has not been this good in over 10 plus years, maybe even 15 plus years. So we're utilizing things like fixed annuities that pay a fixed rate of return, typically more competitive than the bank, as well as we're utilizing different types of CDs or money markets, different types of treasuries or bond ladders, right? There's a lot of different safe money options you could throw out there, as well as incorporating that for maybe even the market if some clients want some of it in the market, depending on their risk tolerance. But there's a lot of different strategies, Ron, that I think you can implement that you don't have to necessarily worry about the everyday up or down of the market, right? Because that might not might not be for everybody, but I truly believe that a lot of the clients that come on board with us, they like the fact that we lead with the financial plan. Again, we're not here to push any type of product. I always tell people, I don't really, doesn't matter to me which direction we go, right? Just as long as it fits what it is you're trying to accomplish and fits your comfortability with risk and tax efficiency and all those other things. So that's what we do, Ron, is really help focus on that financial plan and really make sure we're building one that's built to last and that's something that the clients are comfortable with, not just during an up market, but also during a down market.
Logan, I know a lot of people have been listening to this show for a long time, and then there are others who may have just joined us for the first time today and not used to hearing this kind of talk about financial planning that they don't get from other so-called advisors out there. And I don't mean to downgrade everybody out there who's in the advising business, because there's some really good ones out there, but there's some other folks who advise you in other ways, like, putting all your money in the stock market and simple things like that. But it's different with you. I know everybody's situation is different. Why should they get in touch with you now?
Yeah, that's a great point, Ron. Like you said, if you're one of those clients that maybe is approaching retirement, maybe you're a few years out, maybe you're just starting, and you put yourself in a good position where you think you have a good amount of assets to get you where you want to go in retirement, but you're looking for somebody to help put all those pieces together and really give you a financial plan and have someone there to work with you and your family throughout retirement, throughout this next journey. That's when it's time to make that phone call, because that's what that discovery meeting allows you to do. Is it really allows you to come into our office or do a Zoom, and we could either sit down on Zoom or in person and really kind of go over what it is you're trying to accomplish, what your current situation looks like. And at our discovery meeting, I love how our process works, and clients have gave us a lot of positive feedback, because how our process works is we don't do any business at the discovery meeting. That's really just for us to get to understand each other, understand your situation, and really kind of get a feel for what it is you're trying to get out of this plan. And then we have our second meeting where you come back in, and that's where we'll introduce a strategy, go over some of the planning topics, see how we could address what your concerns are. So we have a 3-meeting process before any client comes on board, Ron. So it allows those people that come in and make that call, that are getting ready for retirement or looking to get something in their life straight when it comes to their financial plan, to really lay back in that chair and really have a good conversation and really meet with somebody that's there to understand what their family's goals are when it comes to retirement planning, and not just pitch a product, but really get the time to understand them and not feel pressured and lock the door and all those things, right? So it's really just a great time for those of you that have been listening to the show and are getting ready to retire. I think it's a very important phone call.
888-823-PLAN. That is 888-823-7526. But the easy way to remember it is by using the word plan, which is always essential. 888-823-PLAN. Your number to call right now. That is the number for Regary Financial and Hemet and Redlands, serving all of Southern California and beyond. Logan Sadler is the Vice President and Chief Investment Officer at Regary. And one more time, if you want to have a conversation one-on-one with Logan Sadler about your financial scenario, call 888-823-PLAN and make it happen. No cost, no obligation. The Financial Beat will go on in just a moment here. Ron Stutz along with Logan Sadler. We'll be right back.
Are you concerned about living too long? Do you worry about the cost of health care in the future? These are a few of the signs that permanent life insurance could be for you. Logan Sadler of Regary Financial will help you recognize the rest of the signs. Text the word ADVICE to the number 21000 to download this free guide to understanding permanent life insurance. Text ADVICE to 21000. Permanent life insurance isn't for everyone, but it could make a dramatic difference in your financial life. Text ADVICE to 21000 to find out if that's the case.
Did you know music is good for the heart? A study at a university in Italy showed that music helps promote a better cardiovascular system. But we also know that a sound financial plan is good for peace of mind. Keep listening to the Financial Beat so we can help you find a plan that both your head and your heart can agree on.
And the beat goes on, as they say. The Financial Beat. Logan Sadler is on the radio. Logan is the VP, Chief Investment Officer at Regary Financial, serving you wherever you are in Southern California. If you're in Loma Linda, Colton, Corona, Temecula, doesn't matter. We appreciate your listening to the show today. Logan's company, of course, Regary Financial, with 2 convenient offices, Redlands and also Hemet. And Logan would love to have a discovery meeting with you. A discovery meeting is simply when you get a chance to know him, he gets to know you, and you have a quick conversation, and you can get some basic answers to some of your questions, and then you can decide if you'd like to move on from there. There's no obligation. It's not going to cost you anything. It's a service that Logan Sadler and the folks at Regari Financial offer to listeners who are interested in having that conversation. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call to make it happen. 888-823-PLAN. Hey, a little history. We're talking about the first Thanksgiving just a moment ago, so we may as well carry on in that same vein here. 402 years ago, November 19th, 1620, the Mayflower arrived at Cape Cod. I mean, that was a long time ago, wasn't it?
That was a long time ago. I don't know about you, Ron. I don't know if you've spent much time out on the ocean or not. Did you boat much, or have you been out in the ocean much?
Not a whole lot, no.
Yeah, I grew up, family always had a boat, so we always did some type of deep-sea fishing, and I tell you what, I give all those guys credit, even a couple hundred years ago. I mean, to sail across the world and the boats they had, just a lot of those people, men and women, right? I mean, just the challenges they must have went through, because anybody who spent some time in the ocean or on a cruise or whatever, just once you're out there, right? So it's always just been so impressive to me, those journeys that they used to take on those boats. Again, they didn't have GPS or Siri to get them where they needed to go. It's just so impressive to me.
You had to do it's sort of like financial planning. You had to do a lot of planning in order to make that trip happen. And then while you're going through it, I suppose you have to have a lot of endurance. And, it was a hard thing.
You're right. You had to have a good advisor that could adapt to different situations, right?
Yeah, exactly right. A good captain, so to speak. And
good way to put it.
That's what I consider you to be, a captain of folks with their financial matters.
Well, thanks, Ron.
Well, let's talk about Roth conversions. The idea of a Roth conversion is intriguing to a lot of folks, and we talk about them a lot on this show. For some people, it can be a great strategy to enact, so I thought we could explore that concept today. Logan, take a moment, if you would, and explain what a Roth conversion is and why it's worth considering.
Yeah, you're right. This is probably one of my favorite topics to talk about, because a lot of people have either heard of it or not heard of it. It's kind of a split crowd, and even the ones that have heard of it don't understand the ins and outs or why it might be a good thing. So we'll spend a good segment here talking about that. Looking forward to it. And really, what a Roth conversion is, for those of you who are driving in your car, don't take your hands off the wheel. But those of you that are at home, you could draw this in the air with me. So basically, draw a picture of a bucket, right?
Yeah.
And draw a picture of another bucket. So you got two buckets. One of them is all tax deferred. Now, in that bucket, meaning tax deferred, meaning you haven't paid any taxes yet. So 401ks, IRAs, 457s, 403bs, a lot of those types of accounts that are traditional, meaning you have not paid any taxes on that money. Now, the whole goal of a Roth conversion is you could take the money out of that bucket, either all at one time or over multiple steps, depending on what your situation is, and you could take it from that tax-deferred bucket, meaning you haven't paid any taxes on it. You could take it out, pay taxes on it, and move it over to that other bucket that's tax-free. Mm-hmm. So it's a way to move money from a taxable bucket over to a tax-free bucket. So there's a lot of different, pros and cons to that, and a lot of different things that might fall in line. I always say kind of I would say actually 5 reasons, Ron. The 5 reasons I would say most people do a Roth conversion when it might make sense in their plan is fear of taxes going up, right? We have a lot of clients that are very fearful that taxes will be a lot higher 2 years from now or 5 years from now or 10 years from now. The other one, the second most, is that people want more tax control in retirement. So it's a great way to, once you get money out into that tax-free bucket, it gives you a lot more tax-free control. The third one is legacy planning. I have a lot of clients that have kids or grandkids or even just people they're going to leave the money to that would rather do it if they could in a tax-free manner. So again, leaving behind that Roth IRA, once it's converted over to the Roth, it now goes to that next generation tax-free, which is a nice way to do things. The fourth one is no RMDs. So a lot of you out there that are approaching 72, for those of you that don't know, any of those IRAs or 401ks types of accounts, at age 72, you have to begin taking that RMD. So once it's in the Roth IRA, there is no RMD. The fifth reason, Ron, is I see these that we when we recommend it is a lot of people don't understand that joint taxes versus single taxes. So if something happens to one of you, it could really mess up your tax brackets in retirement. For example, based off current tax charts, if you're making $80,000 per year joint, you would be in a 12% tax bracket, which is very favorable, right? And now, if you are making $80,000 in a single tax bracket, you jump up to the 22% tax bracket. So it's a way where, there's so many different ways that taxes play an impact, and a Roth conversion is just a way to sometimes help mitigate through a lot of those concerns.
Logan, that was a great way of explaining the whole Roth conversion thing with the buckets and all that. So I like
I'm visual, so I like to be a little visual, right?
Exactly. Hey, that's why we love having you, the opportunity for you to see Logan on the radio here.
Yeah. Painting pictures for you.
Why might the Roth conversion be especially helpful for those high income earners out there?
Yeah, great point. I mean, a lot of the higher income earners that we work with, you're making $100,000, $200,000, or maybe $300,000 plus. A lot of the times, in retirement, you might be in that same tax bracket, right? A lot of those higher income earners might have saved very well, and they might have $1 million in IRA, or $2 million, or $3 million in IRA. So the problem is, in retirement, they're going to be in that similar tax bracket, and that tax burden is going to follow them around. Now, I think, Ron, a lot of the times when we do Roth conversions for some of our higher net worth, it is very tricky to do it efficiently and make sure you're not, giving up too much taxes while you're working. But a lot of the times it still can be done if you use the right type of formula and right type of planning. But it's one of the more common for higher income earners because, again, they probably have a lot in an IRA or 401k that, again, they've been deferring that tax this whole time because they were making a lot of money, right, when they're working. Well, now, unfortunately, when they get ready to retire, or if they are retired, when they start withdrawing all that money, it's now going to be taxable again. So they're going to have one of those things where they're still going to have to worry about taxes in retirement. So a Roth conversion to get maybe some of the money or all the money in some cases to a Roth IRA might be a great way for them to have some tax control in the later years that they might not have had before.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking about Roth conversions here and all the ins and outs of Roth conversions with Logan Sadler on the Financial Beat. Hey, if you did not write down that phone number earlier, please do it now, 888-823-PLAN. That is how you can get in touch with Logan Sadler at Regary Financial. Logan, are there any common mistakes that you see people make with Roth conversions?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is a lot of people I've talked to that have came on board that might have already been doing them, and they might have been doing it correctly. And there's also some people where, and I'd say a lot of the times, maybe the majority of people where they've been doing a Roth conversion or thinking about it, but there might have been some mistakes made. And I would say, I'll name probably three of the most common ones I've seen is a lot of people will do a Roth conversion, right? Meaning you take money out, you pay taxes on it, and now what they're doing is they're investing that money into something that doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense for a Roth conversion. The whole point of a Roth conversion is to convert money and then now grow that money tax-free, right? The capital gains on it would be essentially tax-free if you follow the rules. Now, I've seen some people that convert that money and then they put that money into a very, very conservative account like cash or money markets or things of that sort, which essentially means you just paid taxes on something and then just left it in the bank, essentially, right? So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. The whole point is to do that is to make money over multiple years to accumulate that money tax-free. The number two, I would say, is not understanding tax brackets, like maybe taking too much out in certain years and throwing yourself into a tax bracket because you weren't really understanding what the benefits are of that Roth conversion. And I use that strategy, again, a different bucket type of picture I'm going to paint for you, but use that 22% tax bracket. It's a very wide margin, so you want to stay inside that tax margin there. And so essentially we call that a tax bucket. If you go into the next bucket, you pay a different tax on any money over that, right? So it's important to understand what your tax brackets are and what your future tax brackets might be. The third, Ron, I would say, is not understanding the risk of the Roth conversion, as well as the risk of doing it at potentially the wrong time. There's certain timing when Roth conversions might be better than others, depending on what type of strategies you're doing. As I mentioned earlier in the show, I think when the market is low is typically a really good time, depending on your situation, to utilize Roth conversions and do them over multiple years to kind of spread out some of that risk of market volatility. So those are the three common ones I would say where you see people not quite understand or not get those done as efficiently as could be done.
Give us an example of a person out there listening to the show today who might really benefit from a Roth conversion.
Yeah, that's a great point. I would say there's some people out there that do benefit and some that don't, right? And I actually have two examples I'll give you here real quick. One of them actually is a radio listener, and then the other one was one of the people that came on board about 5 or 6 months ago from one of our webinars. One of them was a married couple, and they were pretty high net worth. They had around $1.7 million in their accounts. Again, $1 million of that was all IRA. So they had one of those tax bombs, I would say, just sitting there, right, where they had 3 kids they were going to leave the money to if they had passed away, and knowing that $1 million was going to be all taxable to the kids was not really what they were trying, what they envisioned in leaving behind a legacy. Now, they had a really good income. They didn't really need much of this 1.7. Again, some of you might sound crazy, but there is some people out there where they don't need a lot of their investments for income. They had pensions and other things like that. So long story short, by implementing a Roth conversion for this client, because they had enough room in their tax brackets, filing jointly, we were able to do a conversion over the next 5 or 6 years. And essentially what doing that conversion on a lot of the programs we use to calculate if it makes sense or what the projected savings could potentially be on theirs, that ended up being around $190,000 in potential tax savings. I mean, in that situation, it was like, man, it just makes so much sense to at least start down this path and, potentially save the kids a potential, $190,000 in taxes by the time we're done with these conversions. So again, that is depending on what the market does. It's depending on how much we continue to do or how much income charge change. But just in that example, to save a potential $190,000 in taxes, I always tell people that's a lot of times they say, hey, Logan, good job. You earned your paycheck, right? And I had another client recently, Ron, who just came on board, and she was single. And she had a really good income of around $90,000 per year. It put her in around the 24% tax bracket. And she had around $350,000 in an IRA that she had planned on leaving behind to her 2 kids. And it was one of those situations where she was kind of a few years away from RMD age. So we're able to utilize some of that $350,000. Again, she doesn't use much of that, or if at all, because she has good pensions and other sources of income. So we're able to, on hers, it was going to look around $45,000 or so in potential tax savings by implementing the Roth conversions over multiple years and reinvesting it in a portfolio that fit her risk. So I would say whether you're ultra high net worth, $3, $4, $5 million, or whether you have a couple $100,000, depending on your situation, a Roth conversion could potentially make a lot of sense if done correctly, because it could just definitely save a lot of money over that time frame, just depending on what your situation is.
That's a great example of a person who might really benefit from a Roth. But how about an example of somebody who probably should not do a Roth conversion?
Yeah, that's a great question. As those of you guys that have been listening to the show for a while know that I'm not one of those people where I think everything fits everybody, right? Whether that's stocks or whether that's annuities or whether that's Roth conversions. And Roth conversions are no different. I think there's a lot of people out there where Roth conversions make a lot of sense, and there's a lot of times where it doesn't make any sense. And for example, I had a client who just came in and was like, hey, I make a lot of money now, and I'm looking at, I think a Roth conversion might make a lot of sense, right? And I said, well, let's talk about that. And he was one of those higher income earners right now. He was in the 24% to 32% tax bracket. So for those of you that aren't familiar, he's making $200,000 or $300,000 a year plus on most years. And unfortunately, he hasn't put away enough money, I don't want to say enough money, but he hasn't put away the right amount of money to get him where he needs to get close to that bracket in retirement. So he's going to be going down to probably the 12% tax bracket in retirement. So again, versus 24 or 32%, depending on which one he hovers, he has one of those commission-driven jobs, so his income can fluctuate a lot. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it, Ron, to convert at a 24 or 32% tax bracket when you're going to be in a 12% tax bracket in retirement, right? It's one of those things where in his specific situation, I tried to run the numbers multiple times. And again, there was a lot of other areas we were able to help him with in the financial plan, but it was one of those where I said, listen, I'll be honest with you, the Roth conversion just doesn't make a whole lot of sense in your situation because you're going to be paying potentially half the taxes in retirement as you are right now, or maybe even more in some cases. So it's just one of those things where I wouldn't really get too crazy with that Roth conversion because it doesn't mathematically make a whole lot of sense to benefit your plan. And so that's what I think with clients or potential listeners to listen to the show, you got to make sure when you're doing the Roth conversion, it actually works out in your favor and it's something that is beneficial for you. But for those of you listening that are saying, man, that was a lot, or I don't understand some of that, you're not alone. Okay, that's a lot of information I threw at you there. And it's one of those things where, again, we feel that's one of the services that we provide with our financial planning to just help separate us a little bit from the competition, but also to make sure we're taking a deep dive with our clients and understanding that there's a lot more out there with financial planning than just stocks, bonds, or annuities, right? You got to make sure you're looking at all of these different planning topics to make sure that you're really utilizing your plan and utilizing the most efficient strategies to help make a successful retirement. And this definitely could be one of those for some of you guys out there listening to the show.
888-823-PLAN. That is 888-823-PLAN. Your number to call if you'd like to have a conversation with Logan Sadler at Regari Financial. We call it a discovery meeting. That means you discover things about him, he discovers more things about you, and then go from there. He's not going to just lay out a financial plan for you without knowing anything about you. That's the purpose of the discovery meeting. And again, it's not going to cost you a penny and not going to obligate you to do a darn thing beyond that. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call. Regari Financial. Call today. Leave a message with your name and phone number. You'll get a call back, and you can set a convenient time to have that conversation with Logan. Now, you're going to enjoy having a conversation with Logan. If you like listening to the show and what Logan has to say here, you're certainly going to get to know him and enjoy getting to know him in person, one-on-one. He can be much more specific when it comes to your individual financial situation. Why not take advantage of the opportunity? 888-823-PLAN is your number to call. Ron Stutz here along with Logan Sadler. You're listening to the Financial Beat, and the beat will go on after this.
We all know Congress has approved trillions of dollars in spending the past year with stimulus packages, infrastructure plans, and other programs. It's all on top of the tens of trillions of dollars of debt our nation already owes. Yet we're living with some of the lowest tax rates in history. Now, how long do you think that's going to last? Learn how you can prepare for future tax implications by watching Logan Sadler of Regari Financial's exclusive webinar, How Tax Planning Changes Through the 4 Stages of Retirement. Just text the word ADVICE to the number 21,000, and we'll text you back a link to the webinar right away. Text ADVICE to 21,000 and make sure you don't have to pay a cent more in taxes than you have to. To access the free webinar right now, text ADVICE to 21,000.
Fishing is an art, and any fisherman worth his salt knows the proper tools to land a whopper. You wouldn't take a cane pole to catch a bass, and unless you're just looking for a tranquil day on the boat, you probably wouldn't use shrimp for bait on the lake. The same can be said of your retirement. There are all sorts of financial products out there, and it's important to know which ones are the right fit for you. A random jumble of investments won't do you much good in retirement. Work with an advisor who knows how to fish, who sees the art within. A well-crafted financial plan will go a long way toward making a successful retirement. Make sure you're putting the right tools in your portfolio.
In Southern California, call Logan Sadler and the Regari Financial team at 888-823-PLAN. That's 888-823-7526.
Do you hear that? That's the sound of a plan that has some serious issues. Much better. That's the sound of a plan that was created by someone listening to the Financial Beat with Logan Sadler. So which sound is your financial plan making?
We're back now with more of the Financial Beat. My name is Ron Stutz. Always such a pleasure to hang out with Logan Sadler. Such a nice guy. Always have fun with these conversations we have about Logan, but it's usually about a very serious topic, and that is about getting you to and through retirement and doing it in a very efficient way, including being tax efficient. That's so important. Hey, by the way, if you'd like to have a conversation with Logan, 888-823-PLAN is your number to call, 888-823-PLAN. Call that number today. Leave a message with your name and phone number. You will get a call back. And then you can set a convenient time to have a conversation with Logan about your situation. 888-823-PLAN. Hey, Logan, you ready for some mailbag questions here?
I'm always ready for a few good questions.
Our first question today is from Robert in Redlands. And Robert says, I retired a few months ago and need to take my first withdrawal from retirement savings to pay some bills. I can take money from my 401k, but that apparently requires a 20% tax withholding, which seems excessive. I can take it out of my IRA and withhold no taxes, but that doesn't seem right either. How should I go about doing this?
Yeah, that's a great question, Robert. And I think first thing I would do is you could work with your tax person on this. You could say, hey, what's my income and what should I be withholding? I think that's a quick way to solve that, where you could see what your potential tax withholdings might be. Because again, 20%, depending on your situation, might be right, or it might be less. And on your IRA, you can kind of predict what type of tax withholdings you want. But I think the bigger question is to me, or bigger point I would say for me to you, Robert, is it sounds like you don't necessarily have a very, deeply rooted income plan, right? And I always see this a lot with people that might just start retiring, as they think, well, I'll just take money when I need it from the 401 or the IRA. But if you don't have a written plan that you understand and that's sustainable, you might get in a situation where you're taking too much money out at the wrong time or from the wrong areas, and you might run into some situation down the road, as well as having a more predictable stream of income or a more predictable plan of where to pull from will help us kind of decide what is the right tax withholdings, because we know pretty much how much exactly we're going to get for income for the year. So I would say if you're looking to get a better retirement plan, or a better income plan, I should say, put together, definitely give us a call, because we could help you take a little more deeper dive into your situation and figure out what type of income we need and how we could structure this to where it's maybe put together a lot better than just kind of picking from which bucket here or there type of thing, Robert.
Again, Robert, if you want a conversation about that one-on-one, you want to find out more about what he's talking about, 888-823-PLAN is your number to call. And our next question today is from Cal in Fallbrook. And Cal says, Logan, at the age of 79, after being retired for 10 years, I think I finally have peace of mind about our financial situation, and I don't worry about us running out of money anymore. But now I'm thinking that we're going to have $1 million or more that we never spend, and we don't have any kids to pass it on to. Should I just start spending as much as I can to make up for the last 10 years of pinching pennies? I have regrets about not traveling more than we did in the last decade.
Yeah, first off, I want to start with the positive there. First off, congratulations on having that peace of mind. I would say, some people don't ever feel that in their retirement. They're always worried they're going to be out of money or not have enough. So first off, let's focus on the positive there, Cal. Congratulations on finally feeling like you're in a good spot and have that peace of mind you need. Now, on to your second point. I think it's definitely time, that you have, like I said, you have a good shot of having a, probably a more successful, I don't want to say more successful, but maybe more income or more opportunities with your retirement plan. So again, just kind of like I was talking about with Robert there, I definitely think it's time you give us a call or give someone like us a call. Then make sure that you're putting yourself in a situation where you might be able to enjoy your retirement a little bit more and spend with confidence, but also might still have that peace of mind that you wanted by knowing that you're going to have enough money to last the rest of your life. Because there is a balance there, Cal, where you want to find where you don't want to live life thinking, man, I wish I would have done that. I had the money to do it. Why didn't I do it? Right? You want to try to live life and enjoy that retirement plan, but know that, hey, I have this much money I can spend per year and still be fine when it comes to our retirement planning longevity. So there's a lot of different things I think we could implement in your plan to help put you in a situation to where, again, you could kind of spend with that confidence, but also enjoy that peace of mind you might currently have with your retirement plan and get a few more trips on the books there, Cal.
I got to say that Cal has what I would call a good problem to have, and certainly congratulations.
That's a good way to
Cal.
put it.
Congratulations for doing such a great job over the years, and seriously, call Logan Sadler and have more of a conversation about this. I'll give you the number in just a second here, but Logan, one more time, you want to tell everybody why it's so important to get in touch?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a great time. There's a lot going on, and I know from talking with lots of you and just looking at a lot of the numbers I read out there, a lot of people are getting ready or getting close to retirement, and they might have a financial plan or might not. And I think it's a great time, if you do have a plan, to get that reviewed and make sure that your plan is structured to last, or maybe even make sure it's structured to fit what it is you're trying to accomplish with your current or upcoming retirement. And those of you that have never got a plan together, again, there's a lot going on, and it might not be a better time than now to get that plan put in place to give you an idea of what your retirement could potentially look like next year or in 5 years or now, whenever, depending on what your retirement target is. So that is what our firm provides. Again, the show is here for just some good educational content for you guys to get, but we also offer that complimentary discovery meeting where you can come into our office and or Zoom, and actually you get to meet and talk with me. Don't pass you off, and we're really going to take a deep dive into your situation and show you the value that our firm can provide to you and your family's upcoming retirement or current retirement plan.
888-823-PLAN. That is 888-823-PLAN. Your number to call for Regari Financial. Convenient offices in Hemet and Redlands. And Logan Sadler is the Vice President and Chief Investment Officer there. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call if you'd like to get in touch. You can get a discovery meeting going very soon. Have a conversation with Logan Sadler about your individual scenario. And it's important to point out that we are all different. It's all on an individual basis. There's no one-size-fits-all when it comes to retirement planning. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call. Hey, Logan, it's been fun being with you today, as always, on the Financial Beat, and I'm already looking forward to our next show.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's my favorite day of the week is Radio Week, and I'm really looking forward to next week already myself, Ron.
Join us next time for the next edition of the Financial Beat with the one and only Logan Sadler at Regari Financial.
The information provided is for educational purposes only and is not intended as investment advice for anyone. All information discussed is believed to be from reliable sources. However, we make no representation as to its completeness or accuracy. The views presented today are those of BD Financial Group and do not necessarily represent the views of AlphaStar Capital Management, LLC. The opinions expressed are subject to change without notice and do not constitute financial, tax, or legal advice. Please consult with your financial professional before executing any financial strategy. Investment advisory and financial planning services are offered through AlphaStar Capital Management, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. AlphaStar and BD Financial Group are independent entities. SEC registration does not constitute an endorsement of the firm by the Commission, nor does it indicate that the advisor has attained a particular level of skill or ability.